The night was thick with an unnatural fog as Kola entered the infamous Whispering Market. His eyes, sharp with purpose and the weight of centuries of folklore, scanned the darkened streets where the flickering lights from ancient lanterns cast eerie shadows against crumbling stone walls. The marketplace, which lay hidden at the heart of the city, was notorious for its legend, a cursed place that no man dared enter unless he sought something so powerful, so forbidden, that he was willing to risk his soul for it. Yet Kola's heart beat steady, driven not by fear but by an insatiable need. A need to uncover the lost artifact that had haunted his dreams for months. A rare, precious relic, known only as the Moonstone of Destruction. It was said to hold the power to change fate itself. An ancient artifact that had slipped through the cracks of history and vanished, only to resurface in whispers on the lips of those who dared to venture into the dark corners of forbidden places. His search for the Moonstone had led him to this cursed market, a place where the dead do not rest, and the spirits of those who had come seeking treasures long ago could still be heard murmuring from the shadows. Locals avoided this market, but more than avoidance, it was fear that kept them away. Fear of what had been seen, of what had been done, of the strange disappearances that followed anyone who lingered too long within its walls. The Whispering Market, as it was called, wasn't simply a place of trade. It was a trap, an inescapable web where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. Even the most courageous adventurers who had entered had been swallowed whole by its unholy depths, their names forever lost in the tangled histories of the market's dark past. Kola was no stranger to danger, no stranger to risking life for treasure. But this was different. The story spoke of a witch, Oluwaseun, the witch of the Whispering Market, who held dominion over the stalls, the wares, and the people who dared to trade within her domain. Her name was a shiver down the spine of even the most hardened of men, for she was not just a sorceress, but an entity bound to the very market itself, a being so ancient, so consumed by dark magic, that her heart was said to beat in rhythm with the pulse of the market's cursed heart. No one knew where she had come from, but her influence had grown to the point that she was a silent ruler, her magic seeping into every corner, every shadow. Those who sought power, riches, or forbidden knowledge found themselves lost in her web, trapped in deals that stole their lives, their souls, and sometimes even their very identities. As Kola's footsteps echoed louder in the silence, the weight of the witch's legend pressed down on him, but he could not turn back. Not now, not when the Moonstone was so close, the stone that would make him rich beyond imagination, or destroy him completely. As Kola ventured deeper into the heart of the market, the streets became a labyrinth of darkness and confusion. Stalls sold oddities, potions that shimmered with unnatural colors, meats of creatures that Kola had never seen and could not name, and fabrics that seemed to shift in the light. His senses were assaulted from all sides, but it wasn't the goods that unnerved him. It was the whispers, soft, fleeting murmurs that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once, as though the very air around him was alive. People moved about, but their eyes were hollow, glazed over as if their minds were elsewhere. He had heard the rumors of the market's strange inhabitants, half-living, half-dead souls, who bartered their existence for a moment's satisfaction. These were not ordinary people, but specters, shadows caught between the worlds of the living and the dead, forever bound by the curse of the witch's influence. As Kola passed a particularly run-down stall, an old woman, bent with age and yet radiating an unnatural vitality, called out to him. "Looking for something, young man?" Kola didn't respond, keeping his eyes forward. He had come here for a singular purpose and nothing else mattered. "I know what you seek." The old woman's voice dropped to a whisper. "The Moonstone. But be warned, no man has ever touched it and lived to tell the tale." Kola's heart quickened. He turned to face her, his voice steady despite the dread creeping up his spine. "I've come too far to turn back now." The old woman's eyes flickered with something like pity. "The Moonstone is not merely an artifact. It is a curse, a shadow that will follow you forever." She leaned closer, her lips curling into a grin that was far too wide, too knowing. "You will meet the witch soon enough, and when you do, you will wish you had never entered the market at all." Kola could feel the weight of her words hanging in the air as he continued on his path, the whispers around him intensifying, growing louder, more insistent. "Beware the witch," they seemed to chant, but Kola was resolute. His desire for the artifact, his thirst for power, drowned out the fear. As the night deepened, Kola found himself standing before a large, imposing structure at the center of the market. It was here, within the shadow of this twisted building, that he could feel the true presence of the witch. This was where the market's magic originated, where the whispers began. Oluwaseun's lair. Kola's journey had led him here, to the heart of darkness, and he knew now that there was no turning back. The witch of the Whispering Market was real, and she was watching. But he had come for the Moonstone, and he would have it, no matter the cost. As Kola pushed open the door to the witch's lair, a cold wind rushed past him, carrying with it the faint scent of decay and something much darker. The walls inside were adorned with strange symbols, their meanings lost to time. Cobwebs clung to the corners of the room, and the floor beneath his feet creaked with the weight of centuries. The air was thick, oppressive, as though the very space was alive with malevolent energy. There were no lights, no torches, but the faintest glow emanated from somewhere deep within the lair, casting a dim and flickering light over the walls. At the center of the room, sitting upon a throne made of bone and shadow, was Oluwaseun, the witch of the Whispering Market. Her presence was almost palpable, a weight that pressed down on Kola's chest, making it hard to breathe. Her eyes were the color of molten gold, glowing with an ancient, terrible knowledge. Her long dark hair flowed like a river of ink down her back, and her skin was pale, almost translucent, as though she had not seen the sun in centuries. She was as beautiful as she was terrifying, her face serene but her aura suffused with the dark magic that she controlled. Kola took a step forward, his resolve unwavering. "I seek the Moonstone." His voice, though steady, carried the tremor of uncertainty. The witch's lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. "Ah, the Moonstone," she purred, her voice like silk. "Many have come for it, but none have returned to speak of it. Do you think you are different from them, Kola?" Kola swallowed hard, his heart thudding in his chest. The room felt colder now, the air thicker. The whispers were louder, as if the very walls of the lair were alive, murmuring secrets in a language he could not understand. "I'm not afraid of you, witch," he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "Give me the Moonstone." Oluwaseun's laughter echoed through the lair, a sound that was at once melodic and terrifying. "You're not afraid of me," she said. "Then you haven't yet felt the true weight of the curse you've invited." As she spoke, the ground beneath Kola's feet began to tremble. The room seemed to shift, the shadows swirling around him like a storm, forming strange, distorted shapes. He felt the air crackle with the power of ancient magic, the kind of power that could warp reality itself. The witch stood, her movements fluid, almost hypnotic. She stretched her arms toward him, and the shadows obeyed, reaching for him like tendrils of darkness. Kola's heart raced as he stepped backward, but the shadows followed, closing in on him. His body froze, gripped by an unseen force. "You are not the first to seek what lies beyond this market's gates," the witch whispered, her voice a soft caress. "But you are the first to believe you can survive it." Kola could feel the weight of her gaze, her magic suffocating him. It was then that he understood. This was no ordinary battle. This was not just a test of strength or will. This was a test of soul. Kola felt himself falling, his feet lifting from the ground as the room seemed to collapse around him. The witch's magic had him trapped, his body suspended in the air, his mind swirling with confusion. He was being drawn deeper into her world, into the very heart of the market's curse. "Welcome to my domain," Oluwaseun's voice echoed, distant and yet right next to him. "Here you will understand the cost of power." As he was pulled deeper into the shadows, Kola saw flashes of the market in its true form, not as a place of trade, but as a prison. It was a labyrinth of twisted stalls and shifting alleyways, each turn leading deeper into madness. The stalls were manned by those who had entered the market and had never left, their faces frozen in expressions of terror and longing. They were trapped, bound by deals they had made, by promises they could never escape. The witch ruled over them all. She was not simply a sorceress. She was the embodiment of the market itself, its lifeblood, its heartbeat. She had woven herself into the fabric of the market so deeply that there was no distinguishing where she ended and the market began. Every whisper, every secret that the market held was hers to command. Kola's heart pounded as he realized the full extent of the witch's influence. She wasn't just a guardian of the Moonstone. She was the guardian of the very essence of the market, the source of its twisted power. And it was her power that he would have to confront if he wanted to claim the artifact. As the room grew darker, Kola felt himself being pulled into the very core of the witch's lair. There, surrounded by ancient relics and artifacts, he saw the Moonstone, the object of his desire, glowing with an eerie light. It lay upon a pedestal, bathed in the glow of the witch's power. Kola's hand reached for it, but just as his fingers brushed the stone's surface, the witch appeared before him, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly fire. "You are too late, Kola." In that moment, Kola felt the full weight of the witch's power. Her magic washed over him like a tidal wave, flooding his mind with visions of every soul lost in the market, every person who had dared to seek what lay beyond its gates. Their screams echoed in his ears, their faces twisted in agony as they begged for release. The witch's form seemed to shift and change, her body growing larger, her power swelling to unimaginable heights. Kola's mind was bombarded with 1,000 voices, each one urging him to give in, to accept the curse and become one with the market's eternal hunger. He could feel his body weakening, his will slipping away. But then something inside Kola snapped. His love for his people, his unyielding determination flared within him like a beacon of light. He would not give in to the witch. He would not let the market claim him as it had claimed so many before. With a final desperate cry, Kola summoned every ounce of his strength and reached for the Moonstone. The moment his fingers made contact with it, a blinding light filled the room and the witch's magic was shattered. The market shook, the very foundations of its power crumbling. The whispers, the shadows, the fear, all of it dissipated as the witch's hold was broken. As the light faded, Kola found himself standing alone in the witch's lair, the Moonstone clutched tightly in his hand. But the victory came at a price. The market was gone. The people who had been trapped here for so long were freed, but they were no longer the same. They were no longer the living. They were shadows, echoes of their former selves. Kola stood at the heart of the Whispering Market, a place that had once been ruled by darkness, but now lay in ruins. The witch's legacy lived on, but so did Kola's transformation. He was no longer just a man who sought treasure. He had become a part of the market's legend, his name whispered on the lips of those who had heard of his confrontation with the witch of the Whispering Market. But the true question lingered in the air. Had he truly defeated her, or had he become the next force that would rule from the shadows?